The 2025 Atlantic hurricane season is officially underway, and forecasters say it could be a bumpy ride. NOAA has predicted 13 to 19 named storms this season, meaning above-average activity is on the horizon. 2024 brought an above-average hurricane season too, and storms left a trail of damage across Florida, a powerful reminder that no part of the state is immune when the tropics turn violent. So the question is, are you ready? In this special report, we're cutting through the confusion to help you get storm smart. We're sitting down with emergency officials to walk you through everything you need to know: how to prepare for a storm, how to stay safe during it, and what recovery really looks like once the skies clear. Because when the winds pick up, knowledge is your strongest shelter. Hi everyone, and welcome to Storm Smart, Navigating Hurricane Season. Hurricane season runs from June 1st through November 30th, and with an above-average season predicted this year, preparation has never been more important. Joining us in the studio is Leesburg Fire Chief Joe Mera, here to walk us through what it takes to stay safe before, during, and after the storm. Chief, thanks so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me, Katie.
Let's start with the big picture. Why is it so important for residents to prepare for hurricanes, even if there's not one on the forecast right now?
It's always better for someone to be proactive as opposed to reactive to a hurricane. And even though one might not be upon us immediately, it's always best to take this time, we call it blue skies, when there's not a hurricane impending, to take the time and just be prepared. It's always better to be prepared ahead of time as opposed to when something happens.
Absolutely. Now, say a storm is approaching. What are those crucial first steps that people should take?
So the good thing about hurricanes, if there is a good thing, is that we tend to have some time ahead of their arrival to know these things. So probably the most critical aspect, aside from being prepared, is just keep yourself informed. Keep your weather radios, apps, watching the news, whatever you use to get your information, stay on that and just be informed of what's happening and how far the storm might be out.
Are there any other resources out there that people can turn to for help with hurricane prep?
Sure, I would direct people to two different resources. First, I'd ask them to sign up for Alert Lake. That way they can get notifications right to their phone. And secondly, I would direct people to ready.gov. It's a great website. It's from FEMA, and it has all kinds of information on preparations, plans, evacuations, everything you would need for any type of disaster.
Absolutely. They've got some great checklists on ready.gov. Now, what are some of the most common mistakes people make when they're rushing to get ready?
I would say that probably the worst mistake is rushing. And so what I mean by that is wait until the last minute. We can, every year when we have hurricanes, when people are trying to make purchases for preparations, you see footage of stores, the shelves are bare, gas stations, people are lined up. You'll see footage of hardware stores that are out of generators and tarps and plywood and all type of things. So the biggest mistake is to wait to the last minute. We really would encourage people to well ahead of hurricane season, even so far as maybe in early spring. Just review what you have, take an inventory of what you have, what you think you might need, and start either making arrangements or buying those preparations well ahead of time.
Absolutely. So let's talk supplies. What are non-negotiables for a hurricane kit? And then what are some items that people forget often, but they should really be in there?
Certainly. So without a doubt, the first thing is food and water. So the average person needs about a gallon of water a day, times the number of people in your house, times at least 3 days. Food, same thing, non-perishable food. Food that if you lose power and you don't have a way of getting power, that you can still have food and eat. So that's just, there's no way to get around that. Along with that, some people might forget this, is are you medication dependent? Do you have to have medications every day to sustain your life? And if you do, you have to understand where you're at with your refills and make sure that you don't run out in the middle of a hurricane when perhaps the drugstore might be without power or there's no way to get there. So make sure that ahead of time you have prescriptions that you might need. Also, families with babies, it's easy to forget, but diapers, formula, that type of stuff, that's how babies are sustained. So those types of things, there's just no way around it. You have to have those things.
Now, how about preparation for pets?
So likewise, you want to make sure that, and so your pets are going to have their own water supply, not as much as us, but still have to account for that. Food, how you're going to feed them, and that type of stuff. Is your pet on medications? And that also bleeds into if you decide you have to evacuate and taking that with you, or if you decide to go to a shelter, and there are pet-friendly shelters, make sure that you bring those things with you. The shelter will provide you a place, but you have to be able to provide for those needs that your animal might have.
Chief, I understand there is a new law here in Florida regarding abandoning animals during a hurricane. I believe it's called Trooper's Law?
Yeah, so that's in response to during Hurricane Milton, there was a dog that was left tied up in some chest-deep water. The dog was called Trooper, and so it makes it a felony to leave your pets tied up outside during a hurricane. So, and the response is simple. That's all in the preparation phase. We should have a plan for our pets. Their shelters are pet friendly, know which ones they are. And if that's not an option for you, then friends or family, someone that you could confide in to leave your pets with. We tend to treat pets like their family, so we have to plan for them also.
Now, when it comes to preparing your property, from trimming trees to securing outdoor items, what can homeowners do now to avoid damage later?
Trimming trees back is probably one of the single biggest things. And trees fall on power lines, they fall on houses, so if you can do that, that's a great thing. But likewise, just keeping your yard clear of things that become airborne during high winds. So such as chairs you might have outside, pots and plants, lawn ornaments, that type of stuff. Keep it put away. And not so much just your own, but even like your neighbors. So let's say they don't know or they can't clean up their yard. There's nothing to prevent the things in their yard from damaging your house. So really, if you can help your neighbor after you've taken care of yourself, you could potentially actually prevent damage to your own property.
What about people living in apartments or mobile homes? How should they prepare differently?
So mobile homes can be problematic because of winds. So what I would say is people that live in manufactured homes, that be aware of shelters to go to. And quite frankly, probably one of the best things to do is to have a plan to shelter at a shelter when and if high winds come.
Now let's talk about writing out the storm itself. When is it appropriate to call 911, and how do emergency teams determine when it's safe to get out and respond?
Right, so if you're experiencing a life-threatening problem during a storm, you should call 911. What we do is when it's at the high wind event portion of the storm, we're not able to respond. But those calls are kept in the queue, and we will, once we can start responding, prioritize those and respond to those. So if you were hurt, if you're injured, absolutely call. And based upon the weather conditions, and they're different throughout different parts of the county even, we will respond whenever it's safe to do so.
Gotcha. Now I want to reflect a little bit on last year's storms. What kind of emergency calls did your team get during Hurricane Milton, and what stood out to you most about that storm's impact?
Certainly. So I would have put the calls we respond to in two categories. Routine calls, and what I mean by that is calls that we might receive on an everyday basis, right? Even like chest pains, people having trouble breathing, that type of stuff. We received those during the storm. And then we received calls that were related directly to the storm. And probably the one that sticks out in my head the most was there was a house that a tree had fallen through the roof during the high wind portion of the storm. It crushed the roof, and it wound up trapping a lady in her bed. So we'd respond out to that, and we had to with the use of tools and various techniques, cut the roof off of her.
Wow.
and get her out of the house.
Wow, that is a lot. Now, based on those experiences, what would you say is the number one lesson your team learned from Hurricane Milton?
I think what we learned was that we need to expect the unexpected. In that call that I was describing where the tree crushed the roof of the house, we responded to that call and it wasn't in the high wind event yet. So we routinely responded out there. During the rescue is when the winds picked up to beyond safe into the unsafe levels, and it really had us in the middle of a call with drastically changing conditions. So in other words, we learned that when you go out to a call, that might not be the conditions of when you get to the call.
Right.
That things can change.
Yeah.
So we be prepared.
Absolutely, absolutely. Chief, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you for sharing all your expertise on prep and for keeping us safe during hurricane season.
Thank you very much.
When we come back, we're checking in with the Leesburg Electric Department. But first, some hurricane season trivia. We'll have the answer after the break. And now, WESH 2 meteorologist Tony Mainolfi has a look at what to expect this hurricane season.
Good afternoon, Leesburg. I'm Chief Meteorologist Tony Mainolfi from WESH 2 at the Hurricane Expo today. Hey, we're trying to get everybody prepared for hurricane season. We don't want you to wait till a storm is coming in on you to be prepared. Have your emergency kit ready to go. Medicines, some cash, because remember, if power goes out, ATMs go out, which means that you don't have power. You need to also have rechargeable batteries for your phones. Those little chargers that you can charge before a storm comes is always a great thing. And remember, there are many ways for you to get that information to stay safe before, during, and after a storm. You've got your Lake County app, you've got a WESH app, you've got WESH.com, you've got radio. Whatever source is your reliable way to get information, please know it, get to it, and have it ready to go. We wish you and your family a safe and a very safe hurricane season.